was getting great. Yeah, of course. Sorry about that, birthday boy. Oh! Want some? Great! Your arms, aren't looking too good right now. Whoa now! Don't worry. I'll take care of you.
They were all there for the same reason. Swansea felt like his life was empty and monotonous. But then, one day, he discovered it. The formula for true happiness.
Behold! The new boy!
He fell into partying and drinking hard. And after many late nights, he almost died. After that, he kept imagining himself one day being found fat, hideous, and dead in a ditch after another day of drinking. So he finally made a change. He cleaned up, took a shower. He got a job working as a mechanic for a relatively small interplanetary shipping company, the Pony Express. He found a wife, had some kids, but despite all of that, he still felt that compulsion to crash out. He never addressed the core problem he had. He just found a new way to avoid it. The crew's youngest, Daisuke.
Could you sneak in an extra packet of sweetener in there?
You just abruptly noticed his name is Daisuke. He changed his whole persona.
No, I just wanted to.
He had once been very good at sports in fucking high school, but ever since then, he had never done anything without screwing up. So after years of slacking off, his mom found him an internship with a mechanic under the Pony Express Transportation Company, and she pushed him into taking the job, hoping that it would change him. He never did solve his fears of trying or failing in life, but based on the respect that he had for Swansea, it seems that Daisuke hoped that his mom was right, and that being there would change him. Anya was a bit odd. She knew an insane amount of medical information. She had tried to get into medical school, but due to certain problems in her personality and past, she had never passed the interviews. Either way, she finally landed in the Pony Express nursing program, which taught her everything she needed to know for her to act as the ship's dedicated nurse. But in a crew that had been cleared for deep space travel, everyone was in good physical health, and so her time was spent checking in on people's mental states and thinking about her past mistakes. And that just leaves Curly and Jimmy, the captain and the pilot of the Tulpar cargo ship. Look at him power striding. Holy shit, he set Curly on fire! Yo, and he's turning into Joshua Graham from Fallout.
The Lord demands you be circumcised.
We don't know much about them. I'm just fucking with you. They're the main characters, and we know a ton about them. They were friends for a long time, and Jimmy feels a strong inferiority complex to Curly. Based on conversation, he's felt it for a long time, but never addressed it. I'm stepping a bit beyond what's explicitly said to us here when I say this. These two probably knew each other before either of them joined the Pony Express, and it seems Curly really got his act together, while Jimmy didn't. As Curly kept working as hard as he could, the upper management of Pony Express noticed, and he became a golden boy who rose to the top of the ranks pretty quickly. He was even so highly valued that he was kept on right up until they went bankrupt. And then there was Jimmy, an immature, self-obsessed fucking weirdo who rode his friend's success all the way to the heavens. Literally. And when he realized Curly wasn't the captain he thought he was, he... I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Let me...
No, it took a lot of work for me to make this. Are you really not gonna have some? Look, I understand that I've made some mistakes, but I'm trying to fix things now. And I think I deserve a little praise for that. Don't you agree? Fine, have it your way. You know what? Let's start over. From the beginning, before all those gruesome deaths and the torture, before the crash and the alcoholism and the fucking hopelessness of space, let's start with...
Day 140 was a huge day for the crew, and that's because it was mandatory psych inspection day. Everyone had to report to the bridge to have their psychenas cut off. Everyone except for Jimmy did report to medbay to have Anya do a psych evaluation. As for why Jimmy had been avoiding Anya, Curly volunteered to go last because the mechanic and his apprentice's job are just more critical for the ship's day-to-day functions than his, especially considering that broken air vent. And while they talked, Anya vented her frustrations about Jimmy and his behavior. They had been fighting a lot lately, and he never even took these psych evals seriously. Or he might have genuinely found himself sexually attracted to the horse. Honestly, we can't rule that out. And we can't blame him. Bro, just you wait. If you jump scare me, horse, I'm gonna draw you pregnant. And then I'm gonna post that, alright? I'm saying that now. Jump scare me. See what happens. Why does a horse kind of sound like a baby? Horse! Horse! That's it! That is it! I am drawing you pregnant! Curly, the responsible captain himself, offered to do the evaluation for her, as he was the only person Jimmy would truly let his guard down around, and in Curly's mind, keeping those two apart would probably help keep things peaceful. Plus, Anya had seemed a little distracted lately. Alright, I realize that I do reach with some of my theories and ideas in these videos, but I think maybe Anya has anxiety. Just maybe. Also, who the fuck is Yimpy? She kept looking at some book about philosophy or meaningless choices or something for some reason. It really doesn't matter. It does matter. Curly left, and after briefly checking in to give Swansea the axe and check in on how the air vent's maintenance was coming along, he walked on to check in with Jimmy. Finally, in the cockpit, he had a long conversation with his good, reliable, always calm and always steady buddy, Jimmy. He said that he liked his job, and he feels in control of how things play out. That's much better than the chaos he always felt back home. He's also very observant and empathetic, just like always. He almost immediately picks up that Curly has been feeling kind of antsy, and that it's been going on for a while. Curly's been feeling a little trapped, almost like he's hit a dead end in life. He's reached the top of the ladder, only to realize it didn't lead anywhere. And now he just has to muddle around in this anxious void of meaning, waiting for his inevitable, final end. I just invented that metaphor, off the top of my head. Curly opens up, explaining and confirming his thoughts to Jimmy. He really felt like he was chasing something, which led him to improve himself as he climbed higher and higher in the express, but now, as he finally reached the top, he knew that this just wasn't his final goal. He was considering a career change, and he was scared of the career change. Overall, I'd rate this scene 10 out of 10, just two bros helping each other through their repressed emotions. They haven't spooned yet, which any good bros should do, but I'm sure that's coming along, right after the goodnight smooches. It's a good thing they're both empathetic people, and one of them is not a psychopathic narcissist who's just mirroring the other person's emotions right back to them. That would be terrible. Just as they head out, Curly receives a letter from corporate. That's great. They're probably praising him on something incredible that he's done, once again. He picks up the letter and reads it, and boys, we've been sacked. Shit-canned. Bricked. The ladder just didn't have no top, and with no support, it's coming right down. To put it simply, we're bankrupt. And now, how the hell are we gonna break it to the crew? Day 147 of the Tulpar crew's journey. Happy birthday, Captain Curlin. It's gonna be the best birthday ever. We have a beautiful and purely synthetic cake, straight from the Batter Witch herself. And being the big boy himself, birthday lad Curly gets to make the cake. It's because no one else knows the sugar codes. So Curly brings over the cake, and everyone goes, "Ooh, speech, speech, speech! Yo, tell us how much you love us, and how about our job security, how our families are all reliant on you. Oh man, what a great party! It's a good thing we brought the cake." Sword, my guy could have waited like an hour or two and told them after the party, but instead, like a man with IBS stinking up the hotel elevator, he breaks the news right before they eat. I'm afraid we've been shit-canned. Bricked. You get the idea. We're bankrupt, and we're all out of a job. Now everybody is pretty bummed about this, but there's two people whose reactions are critically important. Anya, covering her mouth and saying she doesn't have any savings. This is significant since she's a trained nurse, and even if she's not great at it, work can't be that hard to find if the Pony Express needed a paid training program. Can't she just become a nurse for one of the many still running companies? Or is something stopping her from getting work? Also, remember how nice and understanding Jimmy was about Curly feeling trapped? Well, take a gander at this. I can go back to my, how'd you put it? Struggle of a life? Hey, fuck you, Jimmy! Anya never got into medical school because she's, you know... fucking...
She's a woman.
And this is a bit different from before, and there's two ways to take this. Either Jimmy is so obsessed with the idea of controlling the position of a captain, or he wanted to be the one in charge because he wanted to be like Curly. Or really, he wanted what Curly has without putting in the work. When Curly said he was stepping down before, he felt like that was his chance. He'd be able to take his place. He'd become the captain, with all the love and respect that the position brings, and not one person would have even the slightest problem with such a thing. After all, Swansea is old and he's probably not going to live much longer anyways. Daisuke is a rich trust fund baby, and he'll never learn responsibility. And Anya... she's Anya. I mean, she couldn't last a day without someone leading her, telling her what to do and what to feel. He directs this anger at Curly, and Curly might as well wrap up this disaster of a party with a little bit of cake. Hey, I wonder why they coded in this specific mechanic for sawing the cake apart. Jumping a bit ahead to day 145 of the Tulpar cruise journey, Curly and Anya are resting side by side in the lounge. For some reason, neither of them were able to sleep that night. While they talk, they stare at the nice, relaxing ambient screen, which shows the moon over a cloudy night. Anya tells Curly, even though this screen always brought her this nice and relieving feeling, there was this one dead little pixel in the corner that always bothered her. It's always just there, tearing through the facade of a peaceful and reliable moon, which could otherwise steady her emotions. And behind that facade, there's just nothing. Curly doesn't see it, though. He always saw the screen for its totality, not just this one little dead pixel, which Anya can't seem to get out of her mind. That big-ass screen, legitimately, is the highlight of this entire game, and this scene is my favorite in the whole game. Genuinely, it's so well done, because they're not talking about the moon. They are, but to us, this screen is Jimmy's act. He's calm and reliable on the surface, but there's just this one little thing that's off about him. Now, for some reason, Curly can't see it. In fact, nobody really sees it, but Anya, this girl that Jimmy thinks is fucking useless without him, she can see it, and she sees him in these tiny little cracks, which get a little wider every time they fight or she gets too close. And lately, she's been wondering what more is beneath that surface, and it's starting to worry her, because her situation has changed, and soon she might be reliant on whatever that thing is behind the mask. She asks, how much longer do they have on their trip? 8 months, he says. She thinks for a second, then asks why the medical room and not the crew quarters is locked. For safety, he says. It's day 146. We're inside that medical room, and there's that book again that Anya's been reading and mulling over. But right now, she's not in the medical room. Right now, she's nowhere to be seen, actually. And Curly realizes that the locked case, which held the ship's only gun, is also gone. After doing some searching, he finds Anya in the cockpit, having some kind of panic attack. He tries talking her down, thinking that she might hurt herself, and while they talk, she lets it slip. She's not been freaking out about losing her job. She's been freaking out because she's pregnant. She's pregnant, and Jimmy is the father. And she's starting to realize that this guy, who seemed so calm and reliable on the surface, he's evil. And he isn't just mad at her, he hates her. He always hated her. Curly confirms Anya has no plans on using the gun. She just hid it because she's now actually afraid of what Jimmy might do when he finds out that she's carrying his foal.
I don't think that's a fucking baby. I think that's a fucking horse.
It's the horse! And Curly promises to help her. He'll talk it out with Jimmy, since Jimmy's not a bad guy. He can just be a little hot-headed sometimes. This is the coolest thing about Anya's character. Despite being seemingly intimate with Jimmy, she was able to see through all of his lies and notice that under the surface, he's an extremely dangerous and unstable person. And I don't think that it was because he assaulted her. I know a lot of people think that. I think it was just that one pixel out of place. He did something that made her realize who he really was. And as she separated from him, acting against what he wanted, she saw exactly who he was when no one else did. Even though she did fall for some of his lies, she never did stop seeing him for what he really was. And she paid the price for that. On the 147th day of the trip, Anya shut herself in the medical room, and she stared at the drawer the gun was stashed in. She had taken Curly's advice. She had tried to approach Jimmy in a positive way, to talk things out before they could somehow get worse. I mean, after all, they're stuck in the same situation, in a way, aren't they? She's pregnant, he's the dad, and she told him. And it went worse than she could have possibly imagined. She doesn't think that he might come after her anymore, and that's because now she's terrified, knowing that it's a matter of when and not if that he tries to kill her. Curly promises that he'll sort things out, and goes to talk to Jimmy, who's now in full panic mode. Because when they get back home, he'll be a deadbeat who knocked up a girl who won't go near him. He'll probably never see his kid, and he might very well go to jail. I did mention that I don't think he full-on sexually assaulted her, but I do think that he laid hands on her, or tried to intimidate her. Not into, sex, but to try to, I'll get into it later. But financially, socially, right now, he's ruined. Shit-canned, bricked, and bankrupt. He definitely will never work in this industry again, because he's gonna be going down with a mother of all harassment filings from HR. And that means his last however many years of pilot experience are down the drain too. Curly promises to stay by his side and help him figure things out, but it's all too late. For someone as absolutely status-obsessed as Jimmy, his life is over. All that's waiting for him now is unemployment, the desperate rat race of entry-level job searching, and maybe prison time. And he won't go down alone. He will make absolutely certain that Curly goes down with him. Unless Curly lets him end it all right here, right now, by killing everyone in a fiery asteroid collision. Honestly, I don't blame Curls for freezing up here. If I had one best friend in the whole wide world, who I trusted like a brother and had known for literally a decade or more, and I'd helped pull him up from a desperate situation. We had each other's backs through thick and through thin, and he could be an ass sometimes, but he's only human, and it's good to know that he's comfy showing me that he has these demons. And then I suddenly found out that friend had been so horrible to his partner that she was now terrified for her fucking life. I go to him and I say, hey man, what's going on? And he goes, "That's it. I'm gonna ruin both our lives unless you let me crash us into an asteroid," before marching into the cockpit. Yeah, I'd freeze too. Space is mostly empty. It's not like we're conveniently near an asteroid and positioned in a way where hitting it is even possible. I mean, the odds of that would be infinitely small. I'd curl up against the wall and I'd need a minute to just think about it. How could I be so wrong? How did I not see it? Anya saw it. Swansea never saw all of it, but he never trusted Jimmy either. Am I blind? Am I dense? How did I not hear the alarms going off around me? Hey, wait a minute. Those alarms are... And then Jimmy walked by. When he walked into the cockpit, he saw that there was, in fact, some unknown orbital body, an asteroid, maybe big, maybe small. It was 21 astronomical units ahead. As he walked by, Curly realized what he had done. He was shocked and horrified and more than a little bit disgusted, but he jumped to his feet and ran into the cockpit. He had to stop. Curly didn't even make it to the console before they crashed into that asteroid. Maybe it was smaller than they thought, but for whatever reason, they managed to avoid fatal damage, but just barely. Swansea says a few times after this that they're moored on this asteroid, and now they're drifting in deep space, with no means of steering the ship or getting home. Over the next few months, things continue getting worse. Jimmy took over Curly's position, and he began insisting that everyone call him and treat him like the captain. He had successfully parasitized the position, which he didn't earn and couldn't handle. And during this time, unlike Curly, who saw the best in everyone, and only the best in everyone, and constantly tried to help them fulfill it, Jimmy saw the worst in everyone, and only the worst in them. He subtly treated them as if his worst ideas were all true, and so, over the months, they became true. Anya's lost all the respect anyone had for her. She tries talking about things, only for her ideas to get stolen by others who take credit, or for her to be interrupted, insulted, or outright ignored. In her own head, though, this is justified. I mean, after all, Curly was even worse than Jimmy is, and forcing him to act like a mediator between them, was that what pushed him over the edge? And in the mind of the new captain, she's just fulfilling her role, looking pretty, being useless, and following his lead, while the more intelligent crew members find a way out of here. Swansea is quickly lapsing towards his old habits and mental state. It's lucky that there's no alcohol on this ship, otherwise he would have already started drinking again. Of course, his stress is understandable. In reality, he's trying to clear the debris off the cryopods. This is extremely risky and stressful, and he's doing it all in the vain hope that he can save everyone and himself. But, in the mind of the captain, that fat old man is just acting as expected. He wasn't going to live long anyways, so what does it matter if he picks up the pace a little and jogs towards the finish line? Daisuke is doing everything he can to keep the stress off him. He knows how serious things are, but he just can't bear to face them yet, so he spends his time fantasizing about the attention that he and the crew will be given once they get back home, and with repeatedly taking stock of the food supply. In the captain's eyes, the kid wants to live, of course, but he's sure his mommy and daddy will come and bail him out at some point, like they always do. So he wastes his time away by playing video games and stealing expensive sugar packets from the kitchen. And that just leaves Curly, who managed to survive somehow. The blast paralyzed the lower half of his face, but he can still slightly feel the inside of his mouth and his neck through all that pain. His limbs were all blown clean off, so he spends most of his time in a delirious haze due to the blood loss and the shock. In the captain's mind, this burned out husk makes sense. Curly was always just pretending to be the captain, while he was stuck in his indecisions and his fears. Eventually, that much pressure would have broken anyone, including him. But that's okay now. Jimmy will take responsibility for everybody. He is the captain now, after all, isn't he? Anya makes herself useful, finally, by reminding the captain and everybody else that there is a way into cargo, where, as the rest of the crew members point out, there could be all manner of useful stuff. Even if it does strip them of their payday, they need to be alive to accept that money anyways. And that almost makes up for the fact that she is chronically unable to do the most difficult part of her goddamn job. Feeding Curly his painkillers, which is way harder than treating total body third-degree burns, quadruple amputations, toxic shock, and horrific nerve damage. Are you really supposed to be a nurse? I don't know, Anya. I'm not sure how I feel about you, Anya. She's so goddamn beautiful, but at the same time, she's so goddamn useless. So Curly watched the captain fearfully as he force-fed him a little bit of Percocet. For now, all he can do is kind of gag and retch a little. For now. Small aside, but peep the TV, which is now in a morning sunrise and will remain such up until the end of the game. Kind of a literal shining the cold light of day upon us moment right here. And while you're doing that, I want to quickly mention the reason Anya is doing so much to treat Curly is she believes that even though he snapped and did something heinous, his worst moments don't define him. On the other hand, Jimmy says that they do. He needs to be punished for what he's done, and this is his just punishment. The captain heads down to the storage room with his handy code scanner. He gets stopped by Swansea, who blocks him from going into the cryo room. At this point, Swansea has already figured out that Jimmy is a coward and recklessly dangerous, and he's only cleared one of the 4 cryopods. He doesn't want to risk what Jimmy might do if he finds out about that, so he lies and says that the situation in there is so precarious that any disturbance to the mountain of foam could kill the entire crew in an instant, by sucking them into space. And I think this is intended, but that is not how vacuums work, and it's also not how sealants work either. It's also really, really funny if the reason Swansea's saying this is because he knows that the captain is such an absolute dumbass that he won't be able to see through it. From then on, the maintenance room becomes radioactive to the captain, and he'll avoid it no matter what. He goes to the cargo bay, and with the crew alongside, they steel their nerves, hope for the best, and open it, just to find... mouthwash. Thousands and thousands of pounds of mouthwash. That's it. That is all they're carrying. It actually kind of makes sense. Pony Express is a failing company, so it's natural that they would offer cheaper rates to anyone they could find in an effort to drum up business. I guess Dragon, Mouthwash X, Supreme, Turbo Deluxe, whatever it was, decided to get in on the action, and they bought the entire cargo capacity, and they filled it with absolutely heinous mouthwash. Beep the ingredients on that. It's basically vodka with a crap ton of sugar poured into it. And to a recovering, depressive alcoholic who's staring down the possibility of breaching the hull and slowly trickling out all the oxygen, killing everyone with his daily work duties. That's a pretty good way to go. Once again, the crew has become exactly what the captain saw them as. He's almost a good leader in that he precisely fulfilled his vision. Daisuke is still making jokes, even though they just practically received a death sentence. Anya is panicking and can't do anything, really, at all. And Swansea is sprinting headlong into the grand abyss, party boy style.
Daisuke, get in on this! Anyone ever teach you how to drink like a man?
Oh.
A month goes by. The captain wakes up to Curly's noises echoing through the walls. Some people, like Anya, think this is him crying out in pain when she approaches him with his twice daily perks, but I think this is him trying to speak. And that's why he stops when the captain walks in, and we see that he's recovered a bit. He's not just laying there anymore. Now he raises his arms and legs, and he worms around a bit, breathing faster the moment that he sees Jimmy approach him. Oh, Curly, you may be a vegetable, but I know a guarding position when I see one. He's trying to protect his body on instinct, and that means he's still in there, and he hasn't given up yet. But unfortunately, the captain is too goddamn stupid to notice. He tracks down Anya, who's crying while having some sort of secret conversation with Swansea. Probably talking about him, since these people are so negative and obsessed with him. Of course, now they're even spreading rumors behind his back. It's not like they have anything else to talk about. The captain also fails to notice that Swansea doesn't interrupt Anya anymore. But in his mind, that bloated alcoholic has been pretty useless lately. It makes sense that he'd fall to the level of that useless nurse. At least she can remember that Curly hasn't had his twice daily Percocet today yet. So he marches, frustratedly, towards Curly's room. He gets the pill, and before giving the meds to him, he tells the former leader he's not having fun playing the captain anymore. Everyone seems to hate him, somehow, even though he's the only person trying to fix everything and take some damn responsibility for this situation. It's just wrong, the way they look at him and whisper about him behind his back. He'd put them in their place if he just could, but he can't do that. Swansea is so much bigger than he is, and Anya's more nimble, but at least Curly doesn't resist him. And unlike how he feels towards everyone else, Jimmy doesn't need to be afraid of Curly. Open RP. Every day I wake up and snort a little bit of the wall plaster. I don't do it to get high. I do it to show dominance to the thing that blocks out deep space, thereby showing dominance to space itself. The rest of the crew says my IQ is diagnosably low, and they whisper about me behind my back. But when I beat my vegetable, I feel a little... I feel a little bit better. Sometimes, I even beat my meat after. Our youngest member, Daisuke, has gone full alcoholic. Dear God, he's wound up just like Swansea. He's looking worse than that horse that I keep seeing in my dreams. It follows me, screaming, and attacks me from the shadows, but I can't see it until it gets close. Yeah, bro could really walk quieter.
I was absolutely fucking right.
Okay, fine. Maybe you were right about how to avoid the horse. Really though, Daisuke is drinking, and the captain is so caught up with his ridiculous, shallow LARP that he barely even registers. He doesn't even notice that Daisuke isn't making jokes anymore. He's giving up hope. He's laying on the floor, lamenting that he let everyone down, wondering if his mom will ever even know how he died. Not sure if it would be better or worse if she actually found out. And if she does find out, she'll blame herself for what happened. That's a little bit dark, buddy. Open RP. I want this motherfucking bird. Hey. Thank you. I just shouted at a bird, and it listened to me. That's awesome. Open RP. I found the nurse. She's thinking about joining the drinking duo. Maybe making it the thirsty trio, I guess. I hope she does. The ethanol would kill off that mistake. Of course, she's so useless she can't even get the painkillers from the box on her own. I can't expect some shrimpy little to handle something like that by herself. I walk over to Swansea, who's acting the same way he always does. I don't know how his liver is holding on, but for all our sake, it will be better if it gave out already. I politely and nicely make a request for the axe, because someone who actually does some work around here needs it to take care of our vegetable. Close RP. Swansea sees through all of Jimmy's bullshit now, and he has for a while at this point. He just can't play along anymore with that insane captain persona. He knows exactly what kind of man Jimmy really is, considering he's done barely anything at this point for the people on this ship, and there is no shot that Anya didn't tell him about the bruises that she must have found on Curly while changing out his bandages. The mask has totally slipped. It's not just that one pixel that's out of place anymore. Everyone sees him now for who he truly is. Open RP. I got the painkillers to that bubble-headed bit meets adoration and applause. Of course, it's only right that she does applaud, and she seems to smile towards me encouragingly, even while I tuck this piece of plaster into my pocket. I'll be using it later. I'd say maybe she isn't so useless, but then she tries to, again, make me do her job for her. Seriously, one day it's, "So, Captain, please open the storage doors." Then it's, "Oh, Captain, I need you to give Curly his meds. Hey, Captain, won't you please cut a little bit of foam and give me the pills?" And now, again, with these pills. When will it be my turn to give the orders on what gets done next, huh? When? I swear, she's lucky that I'm such a good guy. Close RP. After scaring the shit out of Anya and freaking out at her for nothing and acting like he's been doing a ton of different things on this ship, when really, he's only done like 4 things over the same amount of months, the borderline psychotic captain agrees angrily to force some pills into Curly's mouth. And I mean borderline psychotic, literally. He's been seeing some things lately. So he takes Curly his medicine, but suddenly, something inside him just flips. No one on this ship believes in him or trusts him. It's like they see this useless, broken thing every time they look at him. But there is one person who believes in him, one person who trusts and relies on him. He's been taking his anger out on that person. Oh, what pathetic behavior. In his mind, at that moment, something just snapped. And only one crew member mattered after that. Only one person on this ship is worth saving. Curly. Sweet, innocent Curly. He promises he'll look after Curly, no matter what. So he goes back, and he beats the fuck out of Curly. No, I'm just kidding. He spends the rest of the day engaged in his his insanity. But he keeps on slipping. It's the calm before the storm, and it just lasts one more month. Anya locked herself in the medical bay. She's with Curly, and she won't come out. She keeps saying the captain was right. Those worst moments might be what define us. Maybe Curly will forever be defined by trying to kill all of them. He's taking up the last of their medicine, and if not for him doing this, they would almost be there by now. Someone has to end this, and putting a miserable, already dying man down for good, a man who definitely deserves it down for good, that's not even close to the worst thing she's ever done. Because if our worst moments do define us, then she was already... There's a theory about Anya, which every person who's talked about this game has mentioned. The Anya was assaulted theory. And when I say assaulted, I mean...
Hey, bum, bum, bum. Got any grapes?
Sorry, that was such a fucking bad transition. Seriously, this is such a popular theory that even the wiki treats it like canon. However, it doesn't fit, like at all. Even on the meta sort of structural level, if the assault theory is canon, then she doesn't have anything to take responsibility for. That kind of undermines the core parallel between all the characters in this narrative. Remember before how I mentioned they all came to this ship for the same reason? They were all trying to dodge taking accountability for their core issues. You know, for Curly, it's his feeling unfulfilled in life. He keeps dragging along Jimmy because he feels like by saving him, maybe it'll make him somehow get more worth. For Jimmy, it's his obsession with the idea of taking control and authority that he never truly earned. For Daisuke, it's his idea that he'll maybe make his mom proud if he does this thing that she forced on him. Even though he's never actually tried to make something of his life, he's just doing what other people laid out for him in advance. For Swansea, it's the fact that he feels so empty and alone inside that he feels like he has to drink to fill that void. And for Anya, well, it doesn't really fit if she just tries really, really hard to make something of her life and is always trying to do something so she can succeed, and then she gets assaulted repeatedly, and then she winds up in hell with all these miserable people. It kind of bothers me. Like, what does she have to take responsibility for? Dreaming of being a doctor when she's a ridiculously overqualified and capable nurse? That's a pretty normal step up. It kind of undermines the core parallel between all the characters in the narrative. It also completely dismantles the meaning of that scene in front of the moon. If she got assaulted, that's not just a pixel out of place. That's like the entire goddamn screen. That's very different from being abused by a guy that everyone else thinks is cool or not terrible. So if you throw out all that meaning, yes, it is possible to fit the assault on top of everything else that I say. But I don't think that it makes sense, structurally and... To be honest, from what I can tell, what did happen to her would kind of actually be worse. Not by a lot, but it's the difference between one absolutely horrific event and the final horrific realization that makes your entire life and all of your decisions worthless. So no more preamble, here's the other timeline. It starts a long time ago, and it only gets hinted at by this one line. Anya did something bad. Really bad. I think that she killed somebody who would have survived in a safe way without her killing them. And the reason I think that is it is the only thing I can think of which would be worse than Mercy killing Curly. And we don't know how it happened, we don't know why it happened. All we know is, in Anya's mind, it was far worse and far less justified than putting Curly down. And it seems like this put the idea into her head that she needs to help people, and that is her way of taking responsibility for what she's done. She tried to do the med school thing, and she tried really hard. It's not mentioned in the game or any of the side materials. It was only mentioned once in the developer interview, so this isn't core critical to her character, but they mentioned that she had actually applied 8 separate times, which means she would have constantly tried over, at minimum, 4 years of biannual med school cycles, and she probably had to take the MCAT twice. No goddamn way. This could not have been because she was lacking knowledge. I mean, we see how well she treated Curly. His whole body is covered in burns. He can't move the muscles on the lower half of his face. He's burned off his eyelids on one of his eyes, and all of his limbs are gone. Most ER docs would have classified that as well beyond recovery. So she's already self-taught to the level of a doctor. I think it's because she failed the interview. Because whenever someone starts freaking out at her, or the pressure builds, she shuts down and she runs away. Or she backs down. And that would have made it very easy for Jimmy to abuse her. But going back to her timeline, reality finally hit her. she's not getting into medical school. At this point, she's either pushing or she's past 30, and she needs to start setting herself up for a career. So she starts looking, and in a complete stroke of luck, an opportunity suddenly comes by her. Pony Express desperately needs medical staff so they can run their freighters, but no one wants to be stuck on a ship with 4 randoms for a full year or more, so they're recruiting potential medical workers, and they're paying them to train them as medical staff. They'll be trained as nurses, but they'll basically work as a ship's doctor, and, as a bonus, that would be a fantastic experience for someone who wants to try to apply for medical school for a lucky 9th attempt, and it might even help her with her major weakness, her inability to confront people. Because she can't run away when in space, there's nowhere to run. And isn't that such a good thing? She gets into the program, trains, and becomes a nurse, first try. She joins a Tulpar as its dedicated nurse, and life starts to feel like it's getting better. Is she good at her job? No. And the crew is already relatively healthy. Nobody would bring on crew members for a major trip like this if they already had major medical problems. So all she's able to do most of the time is observe, treat some minor injuries, and do the occasional psych evaluation. But she's dedicated herself to helping people. She'll finally make up for what she's done. And then she meets Jimmy. Curly is the Pony Express's golden boy, and Jimmy is his golden boy. Curly helped him climb to the position of co-pilot and second in command, and he seems pretty nice. He's so calm on the surface, and he's funny and almost impossibly good at observing and empathizing with people. And so, the two of them, after who knows how many trips together, they start dating. And you know how it is when 2 adults who are marching towards middle age start dating? They hook up, they lay it down, they wrap it tight, you know what I mean. Sex. And then, the bliss just ends. We don't know what it is, but Jimmy did something. Now, maybe this was a sexual assault, or maybe he just kept pushing for it when she really didn't want things to go that far. But my guess is that this isn't what happened. I think she finally felt ready, not for sex, but to tell him about what she did. That she had killed someone or hurt them very badly, and either no one knows about it, or more likely, everyone knew about it back home, but they don't blame her for what she did. And now this whole nurse and doctor thing that she's trying to do is just her attempt at taking responsibility for her worst moment. She wants to put enough good in the world that it outweighs the bad. Now think about Jimmy. That's all he ever thinks about. He's status obsessed and as narcissistic as anyone could ever be. He's extremely shallow, and instantly he attached himself to the idea of the captain role, not because he wanted to work hard and do right by people, but because he wanted the respect of the role, some respect that he had never earned. He wanted to date the pretty nurse who seems almost overqualified for her position because she spent so much time studying medicine, but he does not want to date the washed-up burnout who killed or hurt somebody and then failed 8 times to get into medical school. Either way, she started to pull away from him, and this led to a breakup. But Jimmy, in case you forgot, is fucking nuts. So he started doing things after that to Anya, probably in an attempt to make her miserable and afraid so that she would want to quit the Tulpar and go work somewhere else. I doubt that this included assault, because he's a very cowardly person by nature. I mean, he was only able to actually attack someone twice in the game. One of them was a vegetable and could not fight back if he tried, and the other one was on the tail end of liver failure, probably nearly blind after drinking a full bottle of isopropyl alcohol, and Jimmy also had a gun on him. So whatever it was that he did, trying to scare Anya away and probably into quitting, Anya got a bit too much of a glimpse at the real Jimmy. So while everybody else saw this beautiful moon, the serene landscape, Anya saw... And then she found out she's pregnant, and she knew Jimmy must be the father, and that terrified her. She went to the one person she thought of as a friend, and he said he would talk to Jimmy, and Jimmy isn't that bad, and yeah, alright. Tensions are high during a breakup, and maybe Jimmy just kinda lost himself to the pressure of it all. He's still an asshole, but he's probably not evil, so she goes and she talks to him, and it goes horribly. Now she's even more scared. She reads a book about choices and consequences. My guess, by the way, just based on all the parallels between characters and all the metaphors in the story, is that Anya killed someone and that person was someone that she dated. And now she's feeling like after everything that she did to improve her situation and try to help people, she's wound up right back in the same situation as before. Only this time, she doesn't have the strength to fight back. And then crash. This guy, who she thought was her friend, tried to kill her and everyone else on the ship. How could her internal clock be so broken? And how could any of this, be her responsibility? Was pushing that added pressure onto Curly, making him mediate between them. Is that what tipped him over the edge? I'm guessing, while that thought stayed in the back of her mind, she was taking care of him. And she was a great doctor, as good as anyone could hope to be under those conditions. But the situation got worse and worse and worse. I saw some theories that she was crying while talking to Swansea because she told him about what Jimmy had done. And I don't think that's true. I mean, I think she told Swansea about Jimmy, warning him like she warned Curly. And I think she told Swansea about her pregnancy. But I think she was crying because Swansea responded by giving her a death sentence. That the cryopods aren't safe for pregnant women, and are definitely lethal for a developing embryo and fetus. If she tried to use that to save herself, she would almost definitely die, and so would the baby. But they were running out of food and oxygen, and they would definitely run out of one of them before she had the kid. And she's not willing to get rid of it. Jimmy even suggests that she does when he's talking about how they're almost out of pain pills. And I'm pretty sure that's the only time that she ever interrupts him in the game. I know part of that was because it's supposed to be like a big twist later on in the game, but that is what he was talking about there. Okay, back to the main point. The pressure finally got to her, she snapped, and she realized there were two people on this ship who were evil beyond forgiveness. One was a killer, and one tried to be a mass killer. She locked herself in the room with Curly with the intention to take them both out. But unknown to her, all this time, Curly had been trying to speak. His jaw was still paralyzed, but he had slowly managed to work his eviscerated tongue. He could make some noises, mostly grunts, but all this while he had slowly been getting better and better while trying to hide it from the captain. So she walks in, locks the door, opens a cabinet like every time before. She opens Curly's mouth, she takes a bottle of painkillers, probably mixes it with whatever else she can find in there. Or rather, she must know what a toxic combination is. After all, she's studied medicine before. Curly didn't see her down a mouthful. He saw her when she approached the bed again with a fistful of pills. And knowing that this was his last chance, he finally pulled together as much strength as he could possibly gather. And he said the worst thing anyone could possibly say to her. For the last several months, she'd done nothing, while Curly, who had actually done nothing to any of them, was repeatedly beaten, was verbally abused, was forced to take pills he didn't want, and was blamed for a crime he didn't commit. She was the only person on the entire ship who saw Jimmy for what he really was before the crash. And now she had let Curly be horrifically abused after it. She could have blamed Jimmy for it, but Anya, to a fault, way past a fault. She's someone who only knows to blame herself. Fearing that Anya was about to kill Curly, the captain led Daisuke to the maintenance room. Once they got inside, they finally found out exactly what Swansea was working on in here. Of course, the captain was too dumb to see that he was trying to save all of them, and his paranoid ravings took over his chimp brain, making him think that Swansea had evil intentions. But they didn't have time to think on it for too long. They had knocked Swansea out with, and I'm not kidding, a martini made from one bottle of mouthwash, one sugary packet, and an entire bottle of isopropanol. I'm not sure what Swansea's liver is made of, but the fact that he ever woke up at all, for even a second, was truly incredible. Me? I would shit myself if I drank too much milk. If I even smelt that deadly drink, I would not survive. The captain convinced Daisuke to climb into the air vent, to use his nimble rich boy body to avoid the broken pieces of machinery, razor-sharp metal jutting out in all directions, and live electrical wire that would definitely shock him as he went by. Daisuke thought that this was a reasonable plan, and agreed. Nice going, brother. Now just climb up in there, and just get to her, and... Shit. The captain ran all the way back and into the medical room, which was now unlocked. Curly just watched the one person who had heard the truth, which he barely managed to even say, as she immediately took that secret to the grave with her. Then he watched Daisuke, who had opened an artery on the broken metal after being shocked by those wires, as he dropped down and opened the door before collapsing due to the drop in blood pressure. And then, the person who caused this whole mess sauntered in, acting horrified at what had happened, the end results of his actions and his manipulations. Acting like he never wanted this, as he took Daisuke and brought him out of the room before laying him down and waking up Swansea for help. But there is nothing to be done here. The only person who could have possibly saved him had just died, and Curly had burned through most of their medical supplies anyways. So Swansea did what he had to do, and he put Daisuke out of his misery. The captain freaked out at Swansea, saying that it was his fault Anya died, due to Swansea filling her head with his ideas, and that Daisuke could have been saved if he had just listened to the captain and let him do his thing. But Swansea talked to Anya about all kinds of things. She told Swansea how she got pregnant, and about what kind of person Jimmy was to her before and after the breakup. Swansea pulled a,
"I know what kind of man you are."
and then he tells you to straight up
kill yourself.
Or at least have the decency to freeze yourself, so Swansea and Curly can die together in peace. And Jimmy realizes, finally, he's not the captain. He's never been the captain. He needs to drop the facade. It's not fooling anyone, and there's barely anyone left to fool. And there's still a way out. But he can't trust Swansea. Swansea killed someone, after all. He's crazy. So, for everyone's safety, he needs to... Swansea and Jimmy go their separate ways. Footsteps approach. After all of that, the one and only true captain of the Tulpar, Curly, looks to the side and sees Jimmy as he walks into the room. He walks right by Anya, barely sparing her a glance, before opening the drawer under the bed. He takes out the gun and loads it. After all that effort, after everyone trying the best they could to survive, and everything they had all been through, this is how it all ends. For a while after this, Jimmy waits with the gun in his hand, trying to work up the nerve that Swansea is dangerous. He imagines Swansea chasing him down with that axe, the fear and terror of being hunted, what it would be like. He can hear bells ringing, the graves around him of everyone he's put down. Oh my god, he's here. Swansea! Get the fuck back, Swansea! Unknown to him, Swansea had decided to finish what he started. He went back to that cryo room, and with reckless abandon, he cleared away the foam in front of all of the cryopods and repaired them.
Bro
They're all
went
working
insane.
now. We fixed all of
went
them.
insane.
What?
He went insane. He accidentally cleaned it all.
No, Swansea must have fixed all of this. While we were running around killing everybody, Swansea actually did do something. He fixed all the
Bro waited for
cryopods.
the last fucking moment.
Wow. This entire situation was completely unnecessary.
And now we have to deal with the fucking horse.
And now we have to deal with the horse. Despite his insane level of drunkenness, and the fact that he had just downed a cup of lethal poison, Swansea somehow manages to clear away the debris and foam in front of all the cryopods. In the process, he only punched one very small hole in the ship's sealant, and the air very slowly began leaking out into space, causing a drop in air pressure. Swansea pulled his chair to the center of the room and sat down, amazed that after all of this, he could have just saved everyone if he had taken the risk sooner. Everyone would have lived. If he had even done it just one day sooner, everyone would have lived. He had no intention of going into any of the pods. He would just sit there and wait until the air got too thin, and then he'd fall asleep forever. As the air thinned, it rushed towards the breach. Being far away, Jimmy started suffering from hypoxemia before Swansea did. The entire rest of the game is basically a series of delusions and hallucinations while he does terrible things, and I think this is the most realistic explanation for why. In these delusions, he starts seeing Swansea chasing after him with that axe in hand. Despite the fact that this would not be physically possible at all, to Jimmy, it's perfectly real. He starts creeping and jumping around in the hallways as he closes in towards the cryo chamber. Then he ducks into the room and pulls the gun on Swansea. Swansea doesn't even try to fight him. I doubt he even moved an inch. Jimmy probably tied him up while he sat there without saying a word. Then, finally, Swansea had something he needed to say. Swansea?
Yep.
I have something to say. So shut the fuck up and listen. I spent 13 years half cut up to my eyeballs. Drunk, to put it mildly. Then, suddenly I saw it. A streetlight shining in my face. 500 gigawatts of the power of the Lord. You need to find Christianity. Only through the blessings of the God can you be forgiven for what you did today. Sorry, a vision of my bloated body found in some ditch. It scared me straight. So I got
Christmas.
a collar shirt, a mortgage, and a credit card. And all the things that make me a good man. I hoped I could raise my children to be better than their old man. I wanted to believe I was never one setback away from my worst self. But the truth is, discipline, drive, routine, the endless fucking desperation to get shit done, a loving wife, great kids, sobriety. I'm telling you, accomplishments I'd been chasing all my life never felt as good as I expected when I crossed the finish line.
Swansea, I just killed 5 people. What are you telling me?
So now that we're at the end, take an inventory. Those nights spinning out of my head, sinking into the sofa, broken glass in my palms, bleeding dry, the funniest thing ever. Old dogs laughing and snarling on a waterbed.
Yap. And Swansea, shut the fuck
Show
up.
its face.
What are you talking about, man?
All nausea and wreckage and vomit and ugly cruelty. The only
He's lost
problem in the world. The only problem in the world, an empty bottle.
Real.
Those were the best days of my goddamn life.
Real.
Yeah. Those were the best days of my goddamn life. I got nothing to hide. I'm ready to face some music. I can see myself for what I am. But you, a cowardly, selfish motherfucker, you can't even see it. I should have been able to protect the kid. If I could have done one thing right, I wish it had been to give him one small chance off this goddamn rock.
Swansea, I'm gonna fix everything. We're gonna make it.
Fuck you!
Swansea, I'm just gonna fix your personality a little bit, alright? Swansea, it's gonna be just a real quick little, All that for new meaning, but neither of them will remember it for very long. The gunshot vibrations, or maybe the bullet that went out the back of Swansea's head, caused the hole in the ship to get even worse, which once again triggered the ship's automatic foam dispensing. When we next see through Jimmy's eyes, he's completely lost it to a combination of the oxygen loss and the stress over the many horrific things that he's done. Now he's trying to fix everything one last time. He recreates the birthday scene. See, he can't do anything about Anya, but that was the moment when most people started to see him for who he really is. So if he makes it a do-over, he can make it all better. To that end, he needs a makeshift cake, and who could make a better birthday cake than the birthday boy himself? He started tormenting Curly, forcing him to eat the cake while he became less and less lucid. Buddy, help me out, alright? When he was done fixing things, a bit of reality snuck through, and he realized how many horrific, unquestionably evil things he had just done. So, he carried Curly down to the room with the cryopods in it. At this point, almost everything was buried under the foam, except for one cryopod, which barely was still usable. So he stuffed Curly into it, and he closed the chamber. And then he told him, no one can hurt him now. And that's because he had fixed almost everything. There was just one last thing he needed to do now. And as the glass froze over, he fixed that one last thing. If mouthwashing is a game about anything, that thing would be pregnant cartoon horses. But if it's about anything else, maybe we can pretend the game is about the fact that you can't run from your problems. And trying to trade one problem you're scared to face with one much smaller problem tends to just make things worse. Now, if it were about a third thing, that would be this clip. No one can hurt you now. We fixed it. Bro, you haven't turned on the cryo yet. I fixed it. You haven't turned on the machine. You need to turn on the machine. Don't leave.
Fucking machine on
if you don't turn on the machine, I'm just gonna... just left me here.
Just being left to rot.
Yep. He just killed himself. He forgot to turn on the machine. That goddamn idiot.
Fuck!
I can't.
Water!
Oh, there we go. He did turn it on. It's okay. It's okay. Whew. Whew. And finally, if it were about a fourth thing, it would be the Rule 34 of the horse. Thanks for watching this video. I had a lot of fun writing the script for it and recording it. Then I had an absolutely terrible time editing it. So I hope that all this work was worth it. If so, please leave a comment, like, or share, or subscribe, because that is the only way I can possibly grow this channel. I have some other stuff that I've been working on, and I've done a lot of writing recently. My next Choose Your Own Adventure animation is soft launched already. You can check that out in my shorts. We're about 3 episodes in, and I'll make the next one very soon. And I'll start putting out a web novel soon as well, which I'll do some illustrations for that every chapter or every other chapter or so. And I'm most of the way done with the next story and lore script, actually. You can catch me streaming the gameplay of that on my second channel, and if you do, and you talk to me in the chat, then I just might mention you in the next video. Because the next story and lore will be... So thanks again for watching my high-production fan fiction. Please look at my other videos, and here's this. I'm going to share the screen really quick so people can see. Mr. Rano sent me, we know very well why Anya can't be a doctor, and then he sent me this.
One.